Welcome to the Service Industry Podcast. I've spent the last decade as a CEO, operator, and business builder selling tens of millions of dollars in products and services. I, just like many of you, started with nothing. My mission for this podcast is to help you become the greatest version of yourself, help you grow and scale your business, and create the life you've always dreamed of. I'm your host, Matt Smith. Enjoy the episode. What is going on, everybody? Matt here from the Service Industry Podcast. Hope you are doing well. Hey, man, it's been a second. I apologize. Listen, I'm sorry, okay? I've been busy. A lot of you guys know that we launched a roofing business in Michigan. The business is crushing. We've done, just a little over $600,000, I think, in the first 2.5 months of the business. So we're very excited about that. We've got some pretty strong momentum, but with that has required a lot of my free time, which typically would have been doing these podcasts, but unfortunately I've been busy with that. And so I'm sorry I haven't been getting multiple episodes out a week. So don't scream at me. I apologize. Okay. But today I want to talk about something that, I'll be honest, I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but I've been hesitant to because I know there's a lot of people in here with lower ticket services and I don't want to discourage them. However, I built a business. My very first business, which was a window cleaning, power washing business, was low ticket. Okay. Technically, like our AOV was somewhere around $500. And so, I was that guy, and I wish somebody would have told this to me. And I'm not saying I would have quit my business, but I may have changed some things around on how I sold things, packages, all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to talk about high ticket and low ticket. And I have experience in both of these. I've now owned both types of businesses, and I want to kind of go over, I guess, the pros and cons to each. And all of that. So before we do, though, you guys know I own serviceindustrycoach.com. I help home service businesses all over the country with marketing. That's what we do, man. That's what we're good at, especially print marketing, direct mail, which is my bread and butter. I love it. It's worked in every business I own, but we do all different types of print marketing. And then a lot of you guys reach out to me asking about one-on-one coaching. You can find my coaching packages on there. And then if you haven't joined the Facebook group, go join it, man. It's free. No strings attached, not selling you anything in there. It's just a cool place to hang out. I share my day-to-day. And also, if you guys want to see like raw video of me just literally talking business stuff throughout my day, go find me on TikTok. I'll put the link in the show notes. My TikTok's like blowing up right now. And I just think it's because I'm just talking about real life stuff that people can relate to when it comes to business. And so almost got 10,000 followers on there, which is awesome. All right. So we're going to talk about high ticket, low ticket today and the pros and cons. And the reason I'm doing this is because if somebody would have had this conversation with me over a decade ago now, I would be so much further ahead financially. It's not even funny. Now, throughout this episode, you might hear me talk about my old business some, and it may seem somewhat negative. I don't mean it to be negative because I've gained a large majority of my skill set by building and operating my exterior cleaning business. That's what I got started in, and a lot of the things I've learned in that business have translated over very well to all my other companies. However, I am a firm believer that all businesses are not created equally. And that one specifically was not I don't know the right word to say. Let's just say was not the best business for me to be building if I wanted to become wealthy. Okay. And again, even as I'm talking in this very moment, I'm hesitant to even put this episode out because I don't want to discourage people because there was a lot of really, really good things that came from that business. However, wealth was never going to be one of them. Okay. Did I make good money? Sure. But it was going to be nearly impossible for me to get rich in that business. And let me tell you why. So now I own a roofing business. I've got a bunch of friends in the roofing industry, and I've got some data to back up the things I'm talking about today. And honestly, this is the conversation I wish some of my mentors would have had with me. And the conversation is this. And I'm going to use $1 million today in revenue as the reference because it's just a nice even whole number. I know a lot of guys would love to build $1 million business. Just to be clear, like in roofing, that's not that big, but just for a nice whole number, you guys are going to hear me mention that today. In a high ticket business like roofing, HVAC, solar, those types of things, building a $1 million per year in revenue business is very realistic. And not only is it very realistic, it's very realistic with almost no employees and no team. Okay? And so the reason I say that is because to build a $1 million exterior cleaning business, you're probably going to have 5 trucks in the road. You're probably going to have 15 employees, somewhere around there. And you're going to have to do a lot of jobs. So let's just break this math down. And this is something I wish somebody would have done for me early on, high ticket versus low ticket. And let's just say the goal is to build a $1 million business. Well, in my roofing business, our average order value right now is about $18,700 some dollars. So let's just call it 18 grand even. If I want to build a $1 million business based on revenue, I have to sell 55 customers. Okay, 55 throughout the whole year in order to do $1 million in revenue. Now, to get my little calculator out here, if I had a $500 order average order value in my cleaning business, right, and I want to do $1 million in revenue, I have to sell 2,000 customers. Now, first off, you go, holy crap, 55 customers versus 2,000. That's a big number, and it is. You're right. It's honestly overwhelming to think about. But for me, the more overwhelming thought is, what has to happen in order for me to serve 2,000 customers well? What kind of team do I have to have in order to serve 2,000 customers well? The answer is I need a way bigger team than the team I'd need to serve 55 customers. And with a bigger team comes more expenses, more vehicles, more insurance, probably a bigger office space. Where to build a $1 million roofing business with 55 customers, just being real honest, I could handle it all with one person, hardly stressed out. Hardly. Okay? And so you go from needing, let's call it 15 employees to build $1 million cleaning business to one person to build a $1 million roofing business. You have essentially no labor employees because you subcontract the work out to trusted subcontractors. And at the end of the day, you just start to think, holy crap, the opportunity is so much bigger. And here's the other thing. With a small average order value, you don't have that much money that you can spend on marketing to acquire a customer. So for me, in my cleaning business, if I had a $500 AOV, maybe I could afford $100, $150, $200 max, like definitely not making money at that point, right? But in the roofing business, I can spend $500, $1,000 to acquire a customer and not even feel it because my average order is so high. And let's say we have a 30% margin, right? We're making $6-7 grand on a job profit. I have no problem spending $500 to $1,000 to acquire a customer. So it gives me the ability to market harder and get lower results while the numbers still make sense. So to break that down for you a little bit more, let's say I'm sending direct mail out and I'm sending 10,000 mailers. My return on investment on that mailer in the roofing business can be way lower than what it needs to be in my cleaning business. My cleaning business, I might need a 0.5% return rate in order for that marketing source to make sense. Where in my roofing business, I might be able to get half the results or 25% the results. Why? Because I have such a high average order value and my profit in each job is so much. So these are the conversations nobody ever had with me. And so as I was building my cleaning business for 6, 7, 8 years, beating my head against the wall, wondering why we just didn't have as much profit as I wanted to at the end of every single month, the reality is it's just because the business wasn't that great. It just wasn't a stellar industry to be growing in. Now, on top of all that is I'm in Michigan. It was a seasonal business here. So, 3-4 months out of the year, we're shut down completely, meaning I have to lay off almost all those employees, trying to get them to file unemployment and come back. It's just a nightmare, dude, nightmare. So what I wish someone would have said was, hey, Matt, instead of building that low ticket business, why don't you just go into something high ticket? Because here's the encouraging part. The way you get customers in a high ticket business is the exact same way you get them in a low ticket business. The sales process you walk a customer through in a high ticket business is the exact same sales process you walk them through in a low ticket business. So literally the only reason you would go into a low ticket business is not because marketing's different, not because there's greater opportunity, not because there's different sales process and blah, blah. It's just because you chose to. Okay. You're like, well, Matt, I did choose to. What do I do now? What you do now is you figure out how to get your AOV as high as humanly possible, which means you have to start packaging your services in a way to get your average order value up. Okay, so if you want to continue to build a window cleaning business or a power washing business or a lawn care business or whatever it is, okay, I'm talking in order to get rich, not talking about in order to make $150K a year. I'm saying if you want to get to a point where you're a multi-millionaire in the next 5 years, you've got to figure out how to sell packages for way more money. It's the only way. Because if you can sell big packages, you'll have a lot more profit per customer, which allows you to spend more money on marketing, which allows you to spend more money per customer to acquire them. This is the game. Alex Hormozi says the company that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. So to me, in the roofing space now, that says, okay, Matt, the company that can spend the most to acquire a customer will win long term. So if there's a company out here selling for $400 a square, selling roofs for $400 a square, or there's a company selling roofs for $1,200 a square, who has more money to spend on marketing? Who has more profit margin in every single job? The high guy. So the high guy is likely going to be one of the biggest companies in town. Why? Because he has way more margin. And he can take that margin and he can spend it on marketing and he can acquire customers for more. So while his competitor might only be able to spend $500 to acquire a customer, he can spend $2,500. Why? Because on every single job, his competitor, let's just quote unquote says, on average, they make $5,000. He makes $15,000. Okay, this is the game, you guys. But if you have a low ticket service, this makes it really, really hard to do. And what you find is you start spending money on marketing. And if your return isn't great, and I mean great, you have to shut it off because the numbers don't make sense. But in a high ticket business, as long as you're selling for good margins, then marketing is easy. It's the easiest part. And you can suck. Honestly, you can not even be good at marketing and still win in a high ticket business because you have so much room as far as how much you can spend to acquire a customer. And so the biggest takeaways here I want you guys to understand, okay, is what I just said. High ticket businesses allow you to be able to spend way more per customer. Now, in all fairness, it also costs more to acquire a customer with a high ticket. Okay, where like window cleaning, let's just say you have, your average cost per click is $10. In roofing, it might be $80. Okay, but that's because the ticket's so much higher. But if you have a great sales process, you're selling for good margin, you have a lot of profit in every job, marketing is so easy in high ticket. Where in low ticket style businesses, marketing is very stressful and you have to be great in order to crush it and scale with a low ticket business. Okay. The second thing is there's absolutely no difference between the two. The way you run the business, the way you market, the way you run your sales process, the way you service customers, the customer experience, it's all the exact same. So why in the world would anybody choose a low ticket item versus a high ticket item? And here's a big belief thing I want to break for you, because this was what I believed. I was always scared of high ticket home services like roofing, HVAC, because there's more liability. right, than lawn care. Lawn care, I'm just hopping on a mower and cutting grass. Roofing, I'm taking the roof off. What if it rains? What if it gets put on wrong? All of this stuff. The same procedures you go through in your low-ticket business to make sure the quality of the job is done right are the exact same things you're going to go through in a high-ticket home service business. And when you do a few of them, it feels absolutely no different than cutting the grass, because you know what's right and you know what's wrong, and you just hold your team to the standard you need. And so I say all this to say there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that haven't started a business. If you haven't started a business, I highly encourage you to only look at high-ticket home service businesses, okay? For no other reason than, one, they're just as easy to grow. Two, they'll make you rich. And three, you'll have somebody to sell it to when you're ready to sell it, because private equity is absolutely invading the high-ticket space. But if you do have a low-ticket business, you've got to figure out how to sell your customers on more things. That might mean raising your prices. That might mean adding new services that are higher ticket, more valuable. Because here's the truth. Typically, okay, and this is just typically, but typically lower AOV type services, customers don't see as valuable. So cutting the grass for one, right? By the way, dude, I freaking love lawn care, so I'm not hating on lawn care guys today. This is a lower ticket service. Cutting the grass. Someone might cut the yard for $35. At the end of the day, every homeowner knows there's 6 billion lawn care companies out there that will cut grass. Now, what allows you to charge a little more? High level of service, reliability, all that kind of stuff. That's really good. It might allow you to charge 10, 20, 50% more, let's say, right? But you got to figure out things that you can add onto that and sell as a complete package to your customer. So if I was a lawn care guy and I'm hearing this, I'm like, Matt, I cut grass. I have a low ticket. What do? Well, I would be bundling lawn care. When I'm quoting the customer for lawns, I'm going out there, I'm quoting them for their lawn. I'm quoting them to remove snow in their driveway. I'm quoting them for the spring and the fall cleanups. Maybe I'm doing a gutter cleaning included, and then I'm packaging it all together, and then I'm going to break it into a 12-month payment process so they have a lower monthly payment, but they're getting all this value. And then for me, I'm making way more profit per customer. So instead of maybe charging a customer, $1,500 a year to cut their grass, now it just went to $5,000. Now you guys see how much more money I can spend on marketing to acquire customers when my AOV is $5K instead of $1,500. So these are the ways you got to start to think about your business if you want to become financially wealthy. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels. You're going to have low margin. You're not going to be able to spend a lot per customer on marketing, and it's just really, really hard. Don't make it hard on yourself. There are solutions to becoming more profitable, and believe me, when you're more profitable, business is more fun. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. As always, if you need any help marketing your business or want to work with me directly doing one-on-one coaching, visit serviceindustrycoach.com. We'll see you on the next episode.